Now, Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Mr. Samuel Ofosu Ampofo, thank you very much for your time. Good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother.
How are you?
Well, I'm surviving by the grace of God.
I am told you've lost your poultry farm that you've had for 25 years.
Oh, I have not lost it. It is still in existence, but the fact of the matter is that the harsh economic reality is making it extremely difficult for me to operate it after 25 years of existence. So I have had a very emotional meeting with my workers there, and the decision is that we need to wind up and then wait until the situation improves before they come, because for almost 1 year now, what I've been doing really is to play the role of Father Christmas, taking money out of my own pocket to subsidize the activities there and to keep the staff, body and soul together. But things are now very difficult, and it has gotten to a time that we can no longer, because for every week that we enter, the prices of feed, prices of fuel, prices of other inputs keep on rising. And I mean, at the end of the day, you produce eggs, and when you sell them, you can't even break even. And you know, in business, it is very difficult for you to, on weekly basis, borrow money to keep the business running. And so it has come to a head, and I time that I have no other option than to lay them off and to sell off the remaining beds. The capacity of my farm is about 20,000 beds, and now we have only about 3,500 beds left, and even that one is difficult to keep running. And so that is the reality. And if you want to find out, several other poultry farms around the country have closed down because it is not worth, doing the business any longer. It's very painful because I have passion for the work, and I've been doing it for, as I told you, for over 25 years now. And so to see the structures there and the system there, and you cannot operate it, is difficult. But the reality is that it cannot continue that way.
I can just imagine the NDC is celebrating 30 years. So 5 years into the life of the NDC, you have started a poultry farm that has become difficult to run. But let's not so that we do not drag this. I want to go back to the NDC at 30.
Somebody in the studio was interested in the poultry. If he wants to come and partner with me, I will give him part of the farm to come and run.
if chairman of the National Democratic Congress is struggling to run something, I imagine you can imagine what journalists under the circumstances can do. Yeah.
Especially journalists under very good circumstances.
Yes. Well, I think we have to find some time and talk properly about the current difficulties and perhaps how the NDC reacts to it as an opposition party. But we've called you specifically to speak to you on NDC at 30. You are 30 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Last week, Friday, there was an event that was held to, essentially, it was a lecture and a symposium where you discussed the NDC, the past, the present, and what the future looks like for you. But I want to ask you, as national chairman of the NDC, what is going through your mind now that the party is 30 years?
Well, I look back from the establishment of the party because I am privileged to have been around when the party was established in 1992. So I keep on telling people that in 1993 I was a DC chief executive and the party was established in 1992. So I keep on telling people that who am I? I am one of the people who was there when the party was established. And I know what we went through in getting this party together and what the party has done for Mother Ghana. First of all, we were we bet the 1992 Constitution through the establishment of National Council for Democracy, which was headed by DFR9, which went round throughout the country to solicit views on the need to transit from the PNDC to a democratic rule, which culminated into the consultative assembly, and eventually a constitution was came out of it. A referendum was held, and the 1992 constitution was birthed. The NDC was the first party to have won election under the 1992 constitution and form the government, and ever since started the socio-economic development of this country. And so I've seen this country grow under the NDC, under President J.J. Rawlings' era, through to J.E.A. Mills, and again through to John Dramani Mahama. And I know the phenomenal contribution that the NDC has made towards the socio-economic development of the country. And I dare say that if you want to take stock of the 30 years of democratic rule in Ghana, the NDC has contributed very positively in terms of development than any other party. And that one, I'm prepared to debate anybody who wants to challenge that statement.
So in 30 years, you are proud of the achievements of the National Democratic Congress?
Definitely. Very, very proud. Very proud in terms of our development in all spheres of our national life. If I want to touch on a few of them, if you permit me.
Please go ahead.
Yes. First of all, in the area of energy, you realize that our opponents were touting us that we were doing electricity politics. But that was the basis for the socio-economic transformation of our country. Because energy is the way to go if you want to transform a country. So under the NDC, the rural electrification project, the SHEP project were initiated, and electricity was extended to almost all district capitals in this country. And that was the beginning of the takeoff of this country, because once you extend electricity to rural communities, you grow the rural economy, you extend cold store facilities, and people can store fish and then sell. People can establish hairdressing salons, people can establish welding facilities, people can do all sorts of activities, electrician, electronics, and all those things. So you will see that there will be, small scale industries growing in the various districts. And that is how our, district started growing. Again, we also invested in expanding the energy mix of the country, because until then, we had only the Akosumu hydroelectric project. And then we brought on board, for the first time, the thermal complementarity by establishment of the Abuazi thermal plant, which changed the generation mix of this country. And that was the first time that we were getting some other source of energy apart from the Akosumu hydroelectric project. And that came in because of climate change and the drying of the dam and its attendant challenges in terms of energy supply. If you put that one aside, we can also boldly say that the establishment of the Atuabo gas plant has phenomenally improved the energy sector and also reduced the unit cost of production as far as energy production is concerned. Because previously we had to rely on the West Africa gas pipeline, and Nigeria will always create problems, and sometimes the reactive supply of gas was creating problems for us. With the establishment of that Atuabo gas plant, now gas supply has been very constant, and it has also reduced the unit cost of production in this country. When we go to the health sector, we can boldly say that virtually all regional hospitals in this country can be credited to the NDC. The Ntabatin Hospital in Central Region, the regional hospital, the Sunyane Regional Hospital, the Wa Regional Hospital, the Tamale Teaching Hospital, the Accra Ridge Hospital, the one in Kumasi which they have failed to complete, the Seria Regional Hospital, is still not commissioned by this government ever since we left office. And the whole regional hospital, Kofodia Regional Hospital, virtually all regional hospitals were consulted by the NDC. Then you come to polyclinics and district hospitals, virtually scattered throughout the whole country, were established by the NDC. The recent ones are Fanko, and then Dudua Hospital, and several other hospitals across the Bekwai Hospital, Takwa Hospital, and several other hospitals across this country were all, established by the NDC government. When you take that aside and come to the educational sector, I mean, let me just add recently that the Sema Meridian Hospital, Gapuha Hospital, the Bank of Ghana Hospital, the University of Ghana Medical Center, and others, which are state-of-the-art hospitals, cutting-edge technology, is comparable to any modern hospital that you can find anywhere in this world. Are the Rich Hospital, the University of Ghana Hospital, and then the Maritime Hospital, and several others across the country. So we can pride ourselves and say that if we say the wealth of a nation is the health of the nation, then NDC priority of investing in the health sector has to really ensure that the wealth of the nation is sustained. In the education sector, apart from the three public universities that were in existence before the 1992 constitution came in place for the past 30 years, all other public universities were put in place by the NDC. Remember the University of Development Studies, its historical antecedents. The John Rawlings had $50,000 from the Hunger Project and decided to start it with a hospital in the northern region. That seed that was planted has germinated to create a huge tertiary education infrastructure for all the three northern regions, northern region, upper east, upper west, and everybody in the northern enclave of the country is benefiting from that investment which was done during the NDC time. So we say that that one can be credited to the NDC. Again, under Professor Mills, he established the University of Health and Allied Sciences in Ko, with campus in Hohoi, and again the University of Energy and Renewable Studies in Sunyane. Then President Mahama came in and established the University of Environment and Sustainable Development in Somanya, with another campus in Donkokrum. But the MPP government came and decided to suspend and take the Donkokrum project and has brought it to the Buakwa district of the president to establish it at Bunsu in the eastern region. Even after so many years, after 5 years or there, about 6 years, I understand the sword was cut only a few weeks ago for its construction, whereas that of Somanya has been completed and it's now functional. You go there and see it's a modern university that has been put in place. And so, in the field of education, apart from the three polytechnics that were in existence, that's the Takoradi, Kumasi, and Accra polytechnics, it is through the NDC that we established polytechnics in all the remaining 7 regions, by the then 10 regions that we have. And again, continue to convert them into technical universities. And so, tertiary education, we can pride ourselves that we have been the pace setters. We have been the only government that has established these tertiary institutions, sustain them. You go to UPSA and see the handiworks of Professor Joshua Labi, what he has turned the then IPS into one of the first-class, universities that we have in the country today. And so we can also pride ourselves that we have contributed very significantly towards education. And any party or government that focuses on education focuses on the future of the country. To talk about secondary and basic education, I can say that from Rawlings' time, he started with the community-day secondary schools. And then Professor Mills came in and then also did Rawlings started the community-day secondary schools, and also the pavilion concept, where small communities were provided with pavilions, and then the communities were asked to clad the pavilions and then get classroom infrastructure for basic schools. Professor Mills came in and then started removing schools under trees, and removed several schools under trees and replaced them with very good infrastructure for basic education. And then also came in with the accelerated secondary school infrastructure project, which gives infrastructure to several secondary schools across the length and breadth of this country. So both at the basic, secondary, and tertiary levels, the NDC has contributed significantly towards education in our country. If you come to the field of local governance, it is the NDC decentralization policy that gave meaning to local governance and decentralization, which was spearheaded by the learned Professor Kwabena Aboy, who laid a solid foundation for decentralization in this country. Today, decentralization is a pale shadow of itself. We even went ahead and established the IMCC, the Interministerial Coordinating Committee on Decentralization, and set up a secretariat in order to, and then make the presidency the chair of the IMCC in order to, accelerate policy development and policy implementation as far as decentralization is concerned. Today, if you ask DC assemblies whether even common fund is sent to the DCs for basic developmental needs of the people, the question is no. It is in arrears and it is not being sent to the DC. So we have contributed in all aspects in terms of water supply. Through the NDC 30 years ago, I remember very well that when I was a DC chief executive around that time, rural communities had no agency responsible for supplying them with water. The Ghana Water Company Limited was only responsible for urban and peri-urban water supply. And so if you're in the rural community, all what we have to do is to find some stream, get up in the morning, go and fetch water, whether they are infected with guinea worm or whatever it is. And so we had problems with guinea worm all over the place. And so NDC started with a project called Water for All by the year 2000, if you recall that cliche. And I can say without any fear of contradiction that as we speak now, guinea worm, which was a bane in several parts of the country, has been eradicated as a result of our policy of delinking rural water supply from urban and peri-urban water supply by the establishment of the Community Water and Sanitation Agency, which focuses on small water supply. So we give, we call it small water town water supply system, where boreholes are drilled, mechanized, pumped, and given to small communities. And where they are not even mechanized, the boreholes are given, and then they are fitted with pump, and the women will go carry their buckets and then just press on the pumps and get quality water and drink. So, by and large, we also improve upon rural water supply, and we also improve on urban water supply. We expanded the water supply system both in the Ashanti region, Barakesi, and that of palm water supply that comes to Accra and its environment and its environs. In the central region, we also did that of I think Konyako water supply was also expanded to increase water supply to the people of Central Region. We did the K3 project, which is called the Konongo, Kumasi, and Kwawu water project, to ensure that water supply in those enclaves is improved. Then we came down south here and for the first time introduced the desalination plant, which converted seawater into drinkable, potable water for the people of Teshi, Nunga, and its environs along this area. And so water supply, we can pride ourselves that we also made a lot of significant progress in terms of giving good drinking water to our people.
Chairman, is it you have all this off the top of your head?
Yes. I don't have anything. I'm not reading from any script. I am just telling you because I have been part of the processes. And even when people think that the judiciary is against us, we are the only government which have created the enabling environment for the judiciary to operate. The Atamils Court Complex today has given a very congenial atmosphere, edifice for the judiciary to operate. Today, go to the court. Previously, if you know Cocoa Affairs Court, and you go and see how judges and court magistrates were struggling under scorching sun and heat conditions to do their work. Today, go and see the complex that was put up by President J.E.A. Mills, may he so rest in peace, for that Mills Court Complex. So in the judiciary, we also did very well by providing them with one of the state-of-the-art court complex, which today have enhanced the work of the judiciary in the country. So every aspect of our social life, the NDC has done very, very well in terms of road infrastructure. We are there. But the interchanges that we constructed, the Tepekwasi interchange, the Akwaje interchange, the Circle interchange, which is called Dubai, the Kaswa interchange. When President Mills took over from President Kufo, the Sofola interchange and what we call the Gang of Four projects were less than 30% complete. President Mills' headache was how to source funding to complete the project. And he ensured that the Legon interchange, the one on the Achimota interchange, and then Sofola interchange, the Swoon interchange and others were given priority attention by the Mills administration and were seen to be completed. So we've done so much. You know, one of the major social interventions that the NDC introduced in the road sector was the Cocoa Roads Project. Because until that time, the cocoa farmers who were the backbone of our economy did not have a single, in fact, you go to Seriosu area, you go to Enchi, you go to Seriosu, you go to all those Sefi area, Wasa area, and others. There was not a single star project there, road project there. Through the cocoa road project, we were able to open up virtually all the cocoa growing communities with good roads. In fact, not only good roads, but asphalted roads from Takwa to Senkegwa, Bordia, you go through Wasa Kropon, all the way to Enchi, and all the way Serioso to Bibiani and others. You go and see that we open those places up, and the road network there has enhanced economic activities and also commercial activities and farming activities in those areas. So when we want to recount all these things within the 30 years of our democratic experiment and the contribution of NDC, I have no doubt at all in my mind that our contribution has been very significant and phenomenal, and after 30 years, we are very proud to say that the NDC has paid its dues to the development of this country, and we are proud of that.
And I'm sure the reflections might be looking at both aspects, the positive as in your contributions, the negatives as to where you have fallen short. Are there some areas that the NDC is looking at and thinking, over the last 30 years, perhaps we haven't done so well in this area? We plan to do this, but I couldn't do it. Are there some areas that you're looking at and thinking we need to look at it and improve on this weakness? Those areas?
One of the areas that I think we should be looking at is that we always concentrate very much on the hardware aspect. There's a need for us to also look critically at the software aspect of our developmental agenda. And I will explain it. We build all the infrastructure, but I think the human aspect, building the human capacity, in terms of the education and other things, well, fine, we've been doing very well. But I think that what we need to do is also to see what we can do in terms of looking at the entrepreneurial development, looking at the individuals. How can we inject some resources to support the individuals to build the entrepreneurial capacity, to help them to build them up, so that whilst we are building the infrastructure capacity, we must also be looking at building the human resource capacity also pari passu alongside with it. I am looking at a situation where whilst we build the schools and then we get the people into the schools, we also look at how we can look at the individuals within the system and also build them up to take advantage of the infrastructure and also help them to grow within the system. That is one area that I think we should be looking at critically.
You talk about your time in government. Do you also do an assessment of the time you spend in opposition and how well you've done as an opposition party?
Well, as an opposition party, I think that we've also contributed our quota, because in opposition, we just don't do, we offer constructive criticisms. I believe that between 2000, when we lost the election, and 2008, there were a number of things that we did to put the government on its toes. A number of alternative policies that we came out with. There were a number of press conferences. I remember during Professor Mills' time, we organized press conferences, and we also come out with policy alternatives. Our MPs also in Parliament have also been doing very, very well. At any time that we find ourselves in opposition, we've not been very destructive. We've been very constructive. We've been coming out with policy alternatives in order to ensure that we provide a very positive opposition, not a destructive opposition. And so in opposition, we've also been playing our role very, very well to ensure that there is always a balance in the governance architecture of the country.
Well, currently, you are in opposition. You started in 2016. In fact, you came close to it. You performed very well in the 2020 elections. You have sort of a hung parliament. And then people have very high expectations of you. In fact, I spoke to Mr. Bernard Mona, who I'm sure you know very well, who is unhappy with the kind of leadership you've provided as the largest opposition party, because he says, if you stand up, we follow you. But you're basically not standing up. He feels you are dormant and you're not pushing much. What do you say to that?
Well, I think if we look at our performance in the 2020 elections, I would disagree with anybody who says that we did not stand up. We really worked very, very hard within that period, even as an opposition party. How many times did we not hit the street to protest against government policies and programs? How many times were we not out there to come out of our alternative policies and programs? What didn't we do as an opposition? The result itself should let you know that if we had not worked, that result wouldn't have come out. For the first time in the history of our country, an incumbent government lost so many seats that we have a hung parliament now. And so, people must be fair in the assessment of the work that we did. They must give us credit. But the fact that for the first time we went into an election, military men were unleashed on polling stations to go and fire and kill people to prevent election results from being declared, we would have had majority in parliament by now. And so people must credit us for the kind of work that we did. We produced one of the best manifesto. We put in one of the best election strategies. We came out, even in the face of COVID, where we were restricted from doing open campaign. We came out of very innovative strategies to reach out to the majority of Ghanaians, and it reflected in the results. We moved our votes and increased our vote by nearly 2 million votes. Within 4 years, we moved our vote from 4.8 million to 6.3 million. And we were able to increase our seats from 106 to 137. And so in politics, it is a game of numbers, and the numbers speak for itself. And if somebody says that with all this performance, we did not stand up and we did not work, then people are just being disingenuous to us. I believe that we did a lot of work. We put in the best that we can, and we should have won that election if, unconventional. And I'm using the word unconventional because since 1992, it never happened that on election day in Takwa, in Swahim, for instance, on the declaration of results, military men will go with guns, and then force returning officers to declare results. It happened in Techiman South. People were gunned down and 8 people died. It happened in Ablekuma Central and people were killed. It happened in Sevier also, and a whole lot of things. I think people must be fair to the NDC for what we did and why we have brought the party today. And today we have forced, to have a hung parliament, and with all the challenges that we had. Have you ever heard that 12 hours before election, people are disenfranchised? People in SAR were disenfranchised completely from participating in the election. We have been in the court ever since. We have had a judiciary that has not been fair to us in most of the cases that we have sent to, and the judicial architecture has not been fair to us at all. So we have faced very, very peculiar challenges. We have met a very hostile electoral commission, which almost have not created a level playing field for us in this election. And against all these odds, look at the performance that we put out there. So people must be fair to us. They must give credit where credit is due. Yes, we think that we can still do better. We can still up our game. We can still work harder. We have done a review of the 2020 elections. We have realized some of the shortcomings, and we are working assiduously to ensure that we correct those wrongs. We have not slept. For the past 1 week, if I tell you that I have been in OT, I have been in Volta region, I was in Eastern region, we came back to celebrate our 30th anniversary. Just after the night, we were in Kumasi on Saturday, and yesterday we were in the Ashanti region. We have met all the 47 constituencies for the past 2 days. I just arrived late in the night, and I'm still on the way working. The General Secretary is somewhere. All national officers are on the field working. And so a lot is being done. And I think people must give credit where it is due. We are not perfect. The party is not a perfect institution. And we are open and amenable to criticisms. But I think that people must give credit where credit is due. I think that from 2018, that I led the new executives, we've done a yeoman's job with our flag bearer, President John Dramani Mahama, to 2020 elections. And we are still working. We have not rested on our OS even for a single day. And all what we are doing is that anybody who has any suggestion, we are open to new suggestions and new ideas, and we want to work together to ensure that by 2024 we clinch a resounding victory, which will not take us to the, because we are not prepared even to go to the court again. We want to win by such a margin that the thought of even going to court will not come to mind.
Chairman, I think it is fair to ask, you are celebrating 30 years. You've done the symposium. What else?
Yes, we will be doing a number of activities. In fact, we have documented the history of the party for the past 30 years, the administrative history of the party. And so on 27th July, which is the day the final certificate was issued by the electoral commission to the party, we will be launching that book, which will encapsulate all the historical events that have taken place since for the past 30 years. And again, we are setting out a day where we will recognize and award all those who played a part in the formation of the party, and then most posthumously, and those who are still alive, we will do an award day and recognize them and give them citation and certificates. Again, one of the things that and then we have said that this is a year-long celebration. We also intend to organize a family day where we want to get those who have served in the party and those who are still serving, the families of the people. Of late we've been visiting some of our old folks. When we go, we see their families, we see their children, and we want to create a forum where families will come and bond, because we need to leave the party to the next generation. And so people who have worked in the party, our visit recently has taken us to Dr. Toniedo, Brigadier Smith, General Notkweno, Alaji Muhammad Disu. We've gone visited Dr. Beda Samoa. We've visited several of our party leaders. And anytime that we go, they call their spouses, they call their children, they come and meet us, and we say, look, the time has come. The last time that we visited Dr. J. Mafo, for instance, he's the brother of Osafu Mafo, and he was one time Secretary for Agriculture under PNDC, and then played several roles in the NDC. He brought the children. He brought some of them somewhere, very, very astute businessmen and other people. They all came in, and we felt that there's a need for us to organize a day where we'll have a bigger family meeting. Our children and our offspring should know what their fathers have done to bring this party together, so that all of them will come and be part of it. Again, when the Kosibo report came in, one of the things that came out was that the middle class and the intellectual community were not really playing some dominant role in the party. So it gave birth to the professional forum, which today has brought in several professionals, doctors, architects, lecturers, nurses, teachers, lawyers and others. Into the fold of the party. I was at our lawyers forum recently at Adan, and close to about 200 lawyers came there at the meeting, NDC lawyers, and now there's a regional committee of the NDC lawyers at the various regional level and at the national level. So we are giving a new face to the party and expanding the frontiers of the party to bring everybody on board. And the current registration that is ongoing is also opening up for everybody who wants to join the party to come and own a party card and be a member of the party. And so we are making the party more attractive, and a lot more people are joining the party. And by the time we finish this exercise, you would know the kind of attraction the party has become. It has become a party of choice, and people are coming in. And these are all to galvanize and bring all shades of opinions into the party. And we are putting in various strategies to ensure that some of the challenges that we have had of our elections, for instance, collation of results, party agents, and the caliber and quality of agents that we present during party elections, the timing of training of party agents, the deployment and all those things are under serious scrutiny. We have established a research department. We have established an IT directorate. We have established an election directorate. And all these things were not part of the party structures. And all these are part of the, organic growth that the party is experiencing. So a lot is happening, and the party is not static. It's a dynamic institution, and all of us are trying to put our shoulders to the wheel and to ensure that as the years go by, the party does not remain dormant. It does not remain static. It grows, okay, and changes with the changing times that we find ourselves in.
Thank you very much, and once again, congratulations.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Mr. Samuel Ofosu Ampofo is National Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, speaking to us about 30 years of the National